Okay, let's go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Got another banger today. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell for all, so you'll be notified of all the new content I'll be pushing out. I told you guys in the last video, it's like every time I pick up my phone, the news, this is what we get. Sex offenders wearing a badge, taking advantage, chomos. It's sickening. So this one here is, this guy was an FBI agent. He's a former FBI agent. Okay. This is his booking sheet right here, and I'm just going to leave his booking sheet up because I'm going to tell the story. I try to find, you know, what's really odd is I tried to find like a news story, a video that explains it, and then do my perspective and whatever else information I have, what other information I have. I couldn't do it. I could not find it. Now this guy's a former FBI agent, and from what all the research I've done, the FBI doesn't want to be involved in it, so they're trying to keep it hush hush, whatever. So you can find stories, but you can't find any video clip of the news. So he's a former FBI agent, and then he lost his job as an FBI agent and then became an Alabama state trooper. This is his booking information. There's his charges: incest with a minor, sodomy, and the first degree sexual abuse of a child under 12. You already know what I'm going to say. You already know what they need to do, but it isn't going to happen. Now, I've done these other cops. He needs to go to where? To the firing range. Take him out to the firing range. That's where he needs to go. He doesn't need to be in prison. He doesn't need to waste taxpayers' money. He needs to go. Anyway, just like I showed you on the other videos that I've done with these cops, that just keeps coming up. It's like, are you crazy? You know, one with an OR bond, I forget what the other one was in Tennessee. If you go back and watch my videos, you'll see those. This, another sick individual preying and wearing the badge, preying on children. It's sickening. I'm trying to, my channel is Probation Officer's Perspective, which I held other positions. I was an investigator. I was a CO. I worked undercover at the beginning of my career. And so it's not a probation officer's perspective so much as it is all of it here up in my mind as an investigator usually. And some of it is probation officer because I supervise chomos and pedophiles. This one just is the only, besides what justice I feel needs to be done, the only justice that was actually done. Now we got the Columbus sheriff's deputy that's got 58 charges against him for a minor under the age of 13. And he's sitting at home on an OR bond with an ankle monitor. This guy, and then the Kentucky, Knoxville, Tennessee officer, I forget what his story and what he ended up getting. I'd have to watch the video. Anyways, this guy was a former FBI agent. And I'm going to get into the story, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read you the story because Again, there's not a whole lot of, there's no actual news story on it, like other than what I can show you on here, but there's no news story, So I want to read it to you, and we'll go from there. So it says former FBI agent convicted of sexually assaulting 11-year-old girl while serving as a state trooper. Okay, he's a state trooper right here. But it gets better, trust me. That's so in Montgomery, Alabama, a former FBI agent was convicted Friday of sexually assaulting an 11-year-old girl while serving as an Alabama state trooper, a law enforcement job he landed even after he was kicked out of the FBI amid earlier claims that he raped a coworker at knife point. Imagine that. And is this a cover-up? I mean, so he's kicked out of the FBI for other charges, for claims. He was never charged with it, so they just kicked him out of the FBI. And I'm going to tell you that how he was able to become law enforcement. So, I mean, I find it hard to believe it. They're the FBI, but they can't investigate and find out what the real deal is on this. But anyways, let's go on. So his name is, as you can see in the booking photo, Christopher Bauer. So Christopher Bauer's case, first he detailed in an investigation, showed how he was able to hide a checkered past and moved from one law enforcement job to another with the help of an alleged forged letter, making it appear he was eligible for rehire. Okay, I do have that FBI letter. I'm going to put that up on the screen, and hopefully you guys can see that, because I have to make it big to be able to do that. So I'm going to read it to you. And this is the U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of an Investigation, Washington, D.C., November 1st of 2019. Personnel. Mr. Christopher M. Bauer, 505 Pinecrest Court, Slidell, Louisiana. Dear Mr. Bauer, the following information is provided from your personnel file pursuant to your request for documentation regarding training received, as well as your credibility service dates. You were employed in the special agent position from July 9th, 2009 through September 27th, 2019. 10 years as a special agent for the FBI. 10 years he worked there. You are eligible for rehire without having to repeat new agent training for 2 years from the date you ceased employment. Doesn't say anything about why, how. You attended new agent training class 1010 at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, from March 29th, 2010 through August 17th, 2010. Respectfully, Douglas E. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Howe, Acting Unit Chief. Performance Appraisal Unit, Human Resources Division. All right. I'm going to go ahead and... So I read that to you. So basically this document right here, what they're saying is this is a false document that he came up with. Let's go back and let me read that to you again. The investigation showed how he was able to hide a checkered past and move from one law enforcement job to another with the help of an alleged forged letter, making it appear he was eligible for rehire. Was he? Was it a forged letter or was it a legit letter? And they just don't want to, no beef. They didn't investigate it. We'll get into that, what happened on that incident when he was an FBI agent. But he was kicked out for rape, for allegedly raping a coworker at knife point. And then he was let go. He worked there for 10 years. And some just don't smell, it doesn't pass the smell test here. Because alleged forged a letter. So we don't know if that letter was legit and they just wanted him out. So they gave him the letter and said, okay, go work somewhere else. Even though you may or may not have raped. You're the FBI. Get that shit right. Did he or did he not do it? Where's the investigation on that? Did you investigate it? Anyway, so let's go on. Bauer, 44, was found guilty of first-degree sodomy and sexual abuse of a child under 12 following a week-long trial, during which his attorneys claimed the girl had made up the allegations. Yeah, I'm sure she just walked around and said, hey, whatever, random shit, and somebody picked it up. No, they investigated it. They actually investigated it. Sentencing was scheduled for August 1st. I know I'm a little bit late on the draw, but this story, I've been doing research on it, and it's really, like I said, no new big news stories on the actual news or anything like that I could show you. It's crazy. Bauer who has been jailed since 2020, his 2021 arrest, faces similar child sex abuse charges outside New Orleans. Louisiana State Police said Friday they intend to extradite him following the Alabama proceedings. Wow. So, when he was in New Orleans, that's where he was as an FBI agent. I believe he was in New Orleans. So he was, it doesn't say how long he was an Alabama State Trooper, but I'm guessing he left the FBI in 2019. He got a job there, maybe worked there a year and a half, 2021, 2 years, year and a half, because he's been jailed since 2021. But he's facing similar child sex abuse charges in New Orleans. But they don't really get into that. I can't find anything about that. And then the police said Friday they intend to extradite him following the Alabama proceedings. Well, he was already sentenced. Messages were sent to Bauer's attorney seeking comment. Bauer did not respond to a letter sent to him in jail. During the Alabama trial, the child, who is now a young teen, testified through tears that she was repeatedly abused by Bauer over a period of years, too scared to say no or to tell anyone what was happening. Much respect for that little teen, that young girl that got on the stand and had to retell that story. Jurors also saw a recording of the child's 2021 interview with a child abuse investigator in which she described the same abuse. So her story didn't change. It's a sickening, but I want to get this out there. The message out here, there's so many, like everybody you think of. I mean, you're going to get to the point where you're going to look at people and it's like everyone you think of is a sex offender, child molester, especially these ones wearing a badge. It's disgusting. There's only one good thing that came out of this case compared to the other cases. Well, the other is still pending, the 58 charges in Columbus, Ohio, the deputy there, 21-year career. But this guy and the FBI knew that there was claims. They should have investigated that, said, no, we investigated and there's nothing there. So why'd you let him go? Why'd you fire? Why'd he get let go? Why'd he leave? Okay. It says the withholdings that they are withholding some details of the allegations to protect the girl's identity. Law enforcement became involved after the child eventually told a friend, and the friend's parents alerted the school. Bauer took the stand. He took the stand and testified on his own defense during the trial, responding, "No, never," when asked if he had abused or sodomized the child. "If she said I did something to her, then yes, that's a lie," he said on cross-examination. Okay, so she just came out, made up this story, picked you, but then you have a history, and he has his own history of apparently abuse. He was abused as a child. I'm not going to get into all that because, like I said, there's like just so many different stories. I mean, this all part that I'm telling you now is legit, but I mean, there's so many different stories out there. If she said Bauer's time in the FBI was not discussed in detail at the trial. Imagine that. Why not? The judge granted a defense request to exclude statements about the allegations by a co-worker in Louisiana that he had raped her at knife point. Why couldn't they talk about it? I mean, well, I understand because it's an investigation, or the FBI didn't investigate it and they just fired him. And either he now forged this letter, like we talked about earlier, they said allegedly. Let's see where that says that at. I got to read this to you guys again here. The investigation showed how he was able to hide a checkered past and move from one law enforcement job to another with the help of an allegedly forged letter making it appear he was eligible for rehire, which I just showed you guys that letter. Now let's get back down to here. The FBI, now the FBI's talking, has said Bauer forged a letter that scrubbed his record clean and helped clear the way to his hiring by the Alabama State Police in 2019. Okay. So he got hired in 2019, the same year he got kicked out of the FBI or fired from the FBI. And then he was in jail in 2021. So a very short career there. The document obtained by AP confirmed his decade of credible service and deemed him eligible for rehire. The FBI is saying that he forged a letter that scrubbed his record. The letter don't scrub his record clean. He's still got a disciplinary record. Anything. The allegations against a former coworker at the FBI in Louisiana that he raped her. That should be in his personnel file. How'd he scrub that clean? Alabama, the state of Alabama, a state police officer that you're telling me the state did not ask for his, because when you become a law enforcement officer, depending on where it's at, but definitely the state, 100%, they're going to talk to everybody, your former employer, especially the FBI, if he's an FBI agent. They're going to want a copy of his personnel record. So this forging of the letter, first it's allegedly forged. Now the FBI is saying it was forged. I don't know if it was forged, but how could he scrub his record clean? He can't scrub his record clean because the state of Alabama is going to want a copy of his record. Whether he did or didn't do what he did there, there's still going to be a report in there and what they did. And they found, either the claims were false, whatever their investigation came to, and why they fired him. So I don't believe that. Helped clear the way to his hiring in Alabama. The document obtained but confirmed the decade of credibility and service deemed. Sorry, guys, I already read that to you. After Bauer's arrest, the FBI told the AP the letter in question was not legitimate, but declined to comment on its subsequent investigation. Come on. Federal authorities did not charge Bauer, but had been prepared to do so if he had been released from state custody, according to two former law enforcement officials who weren't authorized to discuss the federal inquiry and spoke on the condition of anonymity. Bauer's arrest came amid a reckoning in which FBI pledged to crack down on sexual misconduct following the reporting that found a pattern of supervisors avoiding discipline and retiring with full benefits even after claims of sexual misconduct against them had been sustained. What's that sound like to you? They're covering it up. They're hiding shit. They're talking about others. They're cracking down. The FBI pledged to crack down on sexual misconduct. They found a pattern of supervisors avoiding discipline and retiring with full benefits after somebody claimed they were, sexual misconduct against them had been substantiated. All right. It's just getting better and better. The case also highlights the slipshod system of decertification in the United States, in which problematic officers have remained in law enforcement by joining a new agency or relocating to a different state. For years, federal law enforcement agencies did not provide data on fired or disciplined agents to the National Decertification Index. That doesn't, again, I'm trying to look at this in all perspectives here. And this stuff, and it's not making sense to me. So for years, the federal law enforcement agencies did not provide data on fired or disciplined agents to National Decertification Index. I don't give a shit if they did or didn't. I'm telling you right now, if you get hired on a department, okay, let's say the Alabama State Trooper, or wherever you're at, the state is way stricter than the county and the city. Okay, they're state. You put down where you worked at, and you just give them that letter I just showed you, supposedly that it's forged or not forged. Who knows? Because they don't really say. Supposedly it was. They're not just going to go by a letter. There's a huge background process to that. They're going to go through your background, and especially if you put down you worked for the FBI, they're going to contact the FBI and get a copy of your personnel file. And they don't just like, oh, okay, you have worked for the FBI. Oh, you got one letter? Okay, you're hired. No, it doesn't work that way. There's a lengthy process to the background system. So that I call bullshit. Alabama authorities either overlooked or were unaware of Bauer's earlier misconduct. Oh, so now Alabama authorities either overlooked. How do you overlook? I mean, they dig in your background. I'm going to tell you right now, they dig in your background. They're digging in your poop chute, your hooper. They're freaking, they're going. They want to know everything about you. They'll talk to teachers if they're still alive from your school, what type of person you were, your neighbors, your employers. They're going to talk to everybody. How they overlook that? It's not with the state. You got a federal agency and a state agency, and neither one of them bring any of this out. Bullshit. Alabama authorities either overlooked or unaware about it. Investigations found he omitted his ouster from the FBI on his application to the Alabama State Police. He omitted his ouster from the FBI on his. including that he had been suspended without pay and stripped of his security clearance in 2018 amid a string of sexual misconduct. In 2018 amid a string of sexual misconduct allegations he faced working in the FBI's New Orleans office. So you're telling me he was suspended without pay, stripped of his security clearance for sexual misconduct allegations, yet Alabama authorities either overlooked or were unaware of his earlier misconduct. And he found that he omitted his ouster from the FBI on his application. It ain't like getting a job at McDonald's where you just fill out a little application. An application for law enforcement is about that thick. Okay? It's thick. They want to know if you have any siblings, they want to know them, where they live, how old they are, their social security numbers. They want to know their wives, if they're married, their sister or husbands. They want to know brothers, sisters, mothers. They want to know everything. It's a lengthy process to do that. And just because now earlier he gave the letter supposedly, and that's how he got away with it. Well, they don't just get an application. It's not filling out a McDonald's application, looking at it, and you got a letter from the FBI. Okay, well, you're good. You're hired. It doesn't work that way, man. I don't buy this bullshit. This should have never happened. Should have been taken care of when he had been suspended without pay and stripped of his security clearance for a string of sexual misconduct allegations he faced in the FBI office in New Orleans. An internal inquiry found that Bauer, at a minimum, violated FBI policy, including by having sex in an FBI vehicle. This just keeps getting better and better. And then it's the blame game, back and forth. Well, we didn't know. Oh, we didn't know. He didn't know. I don't know. Who the hell knows? You're the government, federal government, and you're the state. Doesn't get more stricter than that. Many of the allegations played out in Louisiana court filings that had been public for a year when Bauer was hired in Alabama. The woman who accused him of rape, a co-worker of Bauer's at the FBI, wrote in an application for a restraining order that Bauer had choked her and made her scared for my life. Choked her and made her, in quotations, scared for my life. Bauer has disputed those claims, telling colleagues the acts were consensual, but the woman previously told investigators that Bauer sexually assaulted her so frequently her hair began to fall out. It was a year of torture, she said. He quite literally would keep me awake for days. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and in 6 months I went from 150 pounds to 92 pounds. I was physically dying from what he was doing to me. Sounds to me like it's possible they started out in some type of relationship, and the psycho that he is turned into a psycho and, allegedly did this stuff to her. That's her story right there. She's telling. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm going to take that letter off of there so you guys can see that. That's him. I don't know. What do you guys think of this shit? I think it's all bullshit, cover up. You got a federal FBI agent that the best thing that ever happened to him was he did get life in prison. That is the only good thing that came out of that. But is that enough? Is that enough? What do you guys think? You know what I think, and I think about this with all of it. It's the pedophiles in Chomo, the sex offenders, Chomos, whatever you want to call them. I dealt with them personally, supervising them, arresting them. And you know what my thoughts are? Take them to the firing range. Done. Be over with. You know what I mean? That's it. It's done. But the good thing about it is, one only good thing was he was sentenced in prison for the rest of his life, for life. That's the only thing that came out of that. Although I believe it should be something else, but we're not going to go there. It's the only thing. He got life in prison for that. Piece of crap. Like I said, it's bad enough that there's so many. I mean, go to the Megan's Law website, look up sex offenders, look up your neighborhood. Be aware. The problem is you're aware of people that have already committed sex crimes and that are on that site in your neighborhood, down the street, around the corner, next door maybe. The problem is you have people that haven't been convicted or haven't been charged. And this is a perfect example of pure idiocracy on two different levels, federal and state, knowing what this guy did. But the problem is, like I said, you can look up on the Megan's Law and look people up and find out where they live. You know, that's public information. That's after they've already committed the crime. And so that they don't commit another crime, you know where they're at. What about these people like him? He's going to rest of his life, which he ain't going to last. You already know that. But him, the last officer I did, these are off public, you know, they're officers. They deal with families and children and, you know, different things like that. How long does it go on? You can't, I mean, who can you trust? It's sad. But it's to the point where if nobody's saying anything, like the FBI should have came forward and done all that stuff when they put him on suspension. They never said, okay, so when you're put on suspension, you're suspended and then fired or brought back to the job. Okay. And normally it's administrative leave. They put you on administrative leave, which is paid leave, while they're investigating. And then when the investigation's over, you're either going to get arrested and you're no longer an employee there. You're fired instantly. Or they hire you back. Or, I mean, not hire you back, but, okay, your suspension over. So suspension's normally like, okay, well, we're suspending you for a month for you did this, you violated this policy, whatever. You're suspended for a month or 6 months. Okay? Administrative leave is you're put on administrative leave, you're getting paid, and while they're investigating what claims. And it's either going to come back, you're going to get charged, be arrested, and lose your job, or the claims were not found to be legitimate and you come back to work. Not suspended. Suspended is a sanction. But between a state agency and a federal agency, this guy was able to slide through the cracks. And how that happens as being hired on in the law enforcement, being that I worked in that field and I've read and seen, there's no way that just fell through the cracks. No way. They both need to be held accountable. Both. At least one agency. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Another Another badge. And I like putting out these ones about the badges to make you guys aware. Like I said, because there's child or the sex offenders everywhere. But the ones you least suspect, shouldn't have to suspect, are these ones with the badges. And those are the ones that I like to expose. Not saying all cops are bad. No, they're not. Just like all people aren't bad. There's always a bad person in a group. You get a group together, there's going to be one bad apple in there, that group. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. Hopefully I'll be bringing you some different content, and these things won't keep popping up and I keep seeing them. And then but I want to share them. When they do come up, I'm going to share them with you because you guys have the right to know and be aware of these kind of actions in sliding through the cracks. Just like the other ones slid through the cracks. Everybody slides through the cracks. But I wouldn't expect that from a federal agency and a state agency. Some little tiny city with 2 police officers or a county with 3 sheriff deputies, things like that, and some out in the country. Yeah, those kind of things happen. But this here should have never happened. And with that, have a great day. Be safe. And we'll see you on the next video. Peace.